Okay, sun's out, so it's 5 right in the colour grid and 4 down in darkness. High dynamics, high resolution, because that's what we learnt. You've got to have both on high. Interesting development in the last... I'll just put it on spot colour while the sun's out, you might be able to see it. I just put this micro spath in. I don't know if you can see it. And maybe I'll take the lens hood off. Yeah, I don't know as close as I can go. But yeah, you probably noticed it. When I put it in, I came back in about 5 minutes, and I looked at it using the hand lens here, and lucky I did. I don't know if you can see that. I mean, does the hand lens help? I don't know. Hang on, let's try this. Let's see if you can. And I noticed there was 3 maggots, these larvae of the Ascariid midges in there. Quite fat ones, so they were semi-mature ones. And they were wriggling around a bit, sluggish. Within half an hour they died. So, which was interesting. And I was thinking, yeah, this is an oxysulfide, right? So if they ingest it, it wants to rust. Wants to form iron oxide. It wants to take that oxygen away, and so in a way it's metastable, I suppose. In a way, it's locked onto the brown wood, the so-called, in quotes, hemicellulose of the coir, and yeah. So basically, it just suffocated. Basically, it's suffocating. I thought, well, was it a parasitic fungus or something like that? Well, it's only been in here a very short amount of time. It probably hasn't been a length of time long enough for them to build up in the soil, sort of thing. So that could be an incorrect assumption. So the most logical explanation is they just suffocated, sort of thing. So I think these ones are going to go do poor, not going to do too well, and these ones are probably going to do better. But I'm just thinking, when you look at tomato, remember the white sock sour guys say if you can grow a tomato plant, you can grow CPs. And I'm thinking, is that what it is? When you go to the nursery and things like that, when you see little tomato seedlings, what do you see them in? Do you see them in little peat pellets, punnets? And do they have black soil? I'm just wondering, all this, going down, remember there's all this palaver about prepping for your tomato seedlings, and you're going down in the shops and the nurseries and things like that and getting preparations for putting in your seeds to stop attacked by Rhizoctonia and a couple of others. There's 3 to 4 basic standard ones that they talk about all the time. And I'm thinking, if you've got something that takes the oxygen away, and you've got something that's a fungus that's supposed to be, in quotes, a strict aerobe trying to attack these things, if you have a system that can take the oxygen away, they're not going to be able to grow, are they? So have we, inadvertently rediscovered a very simple method, because they started off with antifungal agents with Bordeaux mixture, of course. A copper again, what's the highest micronutrient in peat and other peat-related products? It's copper. I mean, you start to tick all these boxes, read it in a book, bought it in the shop, yeah. The sun's gone in, so... it's coming out again. I wonder if I can actually change the settings in camera while it's filming. I know some of them you can, others you can't, but I wonder if I could actually do that. But anyway... So I might put some seeds down on this one. I think I'll hold back on these because now I think I've got an angle. If your soil ain't black, if it ain't, So is that the thing? Is that they're saying they're putting charcoal into their soil, and it's not charcoal. Actually, they found a way of making preparation X for making iron oxysulfide in the soil, and basically that's going to restrict your basic group of strict aerobic fungi, and also suffocate any larvae they're trying to grow in there. So maybe that's why you don't read anything about this in books. It's too simple. Anyone can do it, and you don't have to keep going down the shop for this multi-trillion-dollar industry. Maybe that's what it's all about. But maybe after nearly 50 years, I've stumbled on something they've had a whole team of researchers working on, and basically you come. Black soil is best for tomato plants. Is that what is it? Tomato plants and tomato-related type plants. Well, we do know that they now recommend that you plant the, you sink the tomato seedlings down, into the soil as far as you can. So they say all these roots come off the lower end of the plant, sort of thing. And and I'm just thinking, was that because the tomato plant is really an anaerobic species, along with some of these weedy plants, things like strawberries, plants of warped soils. If you read the old book, it's getting windy, the warped soils, plants of muck soils and things like that. Is this what it is? A muck soil? Is a muck soil black soil? I don't know. And what about that statement in all these papers talking about on a moorish heath? Is that what they're talking about when they say moor? They don't mean brown, they mean black. As in Othello, it's Othello black. It's not a brown black. They mean a true charcoal black, a dam buster's black. Put it that way. I always say to people, I like the N word. It's a word of affirmation for me because I grew up in WA. On the sand plains of Perth, and of course we had the dam busters show. I swear they used to show it about four times a year. They showed it so many times. We knew the running time, and we also knew the running time for the ads as well. It would almost run for 3 hours. 5 or 10 minutes off the 3 hour with all the ads in, of course. And as I said, when it came out on, you started seeing clips. You knew the line so well. You wondered, where's this phrase about the Lancaster bombers being worth their weight in gold? You couldn't find it anywhere, and it wasn't on the DVD. The basic one when it first came out. And I thought, what? I swear this was almost a 3 hour movie. Sometimes it almost felt like it was too long because they had a lot of the experimental work in there, and it seemed to go on a long time, sort of thing. But that's precious resource. I'm one of these people now these days. I like to languish in a movie, but I watch it slowly in bits, like 20 minutes at a time, sort of thing. And then make a cup of coffee, make a sandwich or something, and then watch it that way. So I'm not a muncher. What's it? I'm a grazer, basically. I'm a grazer. Yeah. I'm a geezer who's a grazer. Yeah, a gazing geezer. Grazing geezer. Anyway, yeah, sounds like I'm the blinder. Graze. But anyway, interesting one to watch this. Will this now start to grow pretty well? Because it's now, there's all the larvae are going to be killed off. It's not going to probably get any fungal problems of the basic 3 or 4 set that you get with like tomato and tomato related seedlings, strawberries. You may want to think about this for rhubarb. Is this the secret? You need a black soil. You need a iron oxysulfide soil, basically. When they talk about sulfidic soils, they talk if they dig into a sulfidic soil, it oxidizes up usually, because there's 2 basic forms of iron sulfide out there in the environment, basically, and one of them will, you dig into it and it's not stable, and it will oxidize up, and you'll get all this sulfuric acid coming out of the landscape. You look them up; it's quite an interesting biology going on there. So, is that we're going to get some of that sort of biology in this soil as well? So, anyway, I just thought I'd give you this update. As I said, maybe I've stumbled onto something that's going to say everybody a whole load of... have I got myself a target on my back now? From Big Pharma, with an F. Yeah, well, they do get up to all these naughties with their so-called Terminator gene. What were they going to do next? Saying, what's the next one up on the Darwin's Tree of Life? Should we try insects? Oh, bugger. You can only get the bees from us, and if you don't pay us the filthy lucre, your bees are going to die, because we genetically modified the bees so that if you don't pay us the filthy lucre, they're just going to cark it. Can you imagine what happens if something went wrong and all the bees in the world died off? Yeah. Or do you think, my brain just went flash, do you think this side bug thing is a story they're engineering in case something does go wrong? It's not us, it's this organism over here that's killing the bees off. Do you think that's what it is? I'm just thinking, my devilish little mind just went ping. I thought, oh yes, Terminator gene, what were they going to do next? And then we suddenly, around about the same time, we had all these stories about this devastating mite and everything else coming along. Thinking, were they actually looking for an organism that they could use as a fall guy, a fall insect? Yeah, that's going to be funny to people in America that talk about autumn as fall. Anyway, I just thought I'd give you this interesting update that I noticed. As I said, they died within half an hour. You could see them, struggling, and they were dead in half an hour. I thought, well, that's as we say down under in Australian parts, bloody fucking brilliant, Ringo. Anyway, I just thought I'd give you this update, and we'll see how we go. But I think this is going to be the one that works now. I think I'll watch this thing, but unless it does the same sort of thing as this, I think that's going to be a failure, and this one's going to be a success now. I've actually seen it working in half an hour, doing its job. And does it keep doing its job, you see? As long as it stays black, maybe you've got to have a certain quantity of it in the soil, and over time it will go brown or something. So, but how long do you need it in there? You only need it in there for the length of the seedlings are growing into semi-mature plants. You can always transfer them on later on after that. Anyway, I'll put some seeds down on here now. Now knowing that the seeds might be protected from some of the basic fungal nasties of tomato plants or so. And we'll see how we go. I might put a few glid seeds down there just for a bit of fun as well, and see what happens. You never know. If we suddenly get some germination of glids in this sort of soil, maybe that's part of the secret. Maybe the seeds get attacked, or they can sense they need to have a soil that has a negative aerobic potential. What's the phrase I'm struggling for? A reductive, yeah. Oh, yes, that's the other thing. The classic silver mirror test. Or get a silver spoon, and you put this is the classic test for an anaerobic soil. You get the back of a silver spoon, stick it in there overnight, 24 hours basically. Pull it up, and if it has the discoloration on it, it's an anaerobic soil. That's the classic sign, the basic yes or no. It's the silver mirror test, mate. You get a silver object, a silver spoon, I think, put it in there. If it does discolour, it's an anaerobic soil. Basically, that's what it is. It's a reductive anaerobic soil. So actually, basic classical test for that. So if the silver spoon discolours, as I said, it's like this. If you see a fungus on a root, you've got a fungus root, you've got a you've got a ectotrophic mycorrhiza sort of thing. That's the classic standard thing. If you can show that, then they have to agree by the classical basics that you've got a mycorrhiza there, you see. So if you can find show evidence of an ectotrophic mycorrhiza on a root, a fungus on a root of a carnivorous plant, you have a fungus root, you have by definition a mycorrhiza, and they can't wriggle out of that one. They can't slide out of it like a well-oiled eel. They have to admit to themselves, and by their own definition, by their own rules, that some members of the carnivorous plant family are mycorrhizal, you see. But maybe this is what you need to do. You need to set the soil up so it kills off some of the other nasties that only the mycorrhizal fungi can develop in the soil. Maybe that's what it's all about, but we'll find out. But I just thought I'd bring this to your attention. It's a waffling, rambling one, but I'm pretty excited because I actually watched these things struggle and die within half an hour. You can see, if you look closely in the image, you'll see that one there that's dead. I took the other two out, but there's one there on the side. If you look closely, if you pause the frame on your YouTube, hopefully the camera's good enough to pick that up. But we'll see if it will actually grow now. Because I said I've had all these microspats. They're all micro. Now I think I know why they're micro, because when they get too big, they get nibbled off by the larvae. So we'll see how we go. So yeah, maybe now we'll also, maybe that's the trick to growing moss and liverworts. Maybe the liverworts have the same sort of problem. Maybe the young liverwort gemmie are attacked by these Aesciorid midges, sort of thing. And yeah, I say it that way because it was misspelt in one of my greenhouse and one of my sunset greenhouse and gardening books. It was misspelt as Aesciorid midge larvae, so I just keep that going now. It's like if you're into the CP world, you know that book about carnivorous plants by I've forgotten his name now, from something nursery. It uses like pertile instead of perlite, so I always talk about pertile mediums. And now I thought, well, that's a good word, isn't it? Related to perlite. So instead of having a well-drained anaerobic soil, maybe you want to say you've got a pertile medium. Anyway, well, yeah, I know. People from the past are probably not even alive now. Not even alive to actually see, developments now. And as I say, I reckon I've got a target on my back now. Everyone's going to be out doing this, and suddenly they're going to be growing their tomato seedlings so easily now, or something like that. I said, I put these tomato seeds down, and I know from the past they germinate in 3 or 4 days. And but then they get up to a certain height and they just sit there doing bugger all, a bit like one of these microspats, just sitting there alive but not really doing much. And I'm wondering if that's what it is, as they try, the roots are slowly being nibbled off, or just enough, they don't kill it. So maybe they like the roots, so if they kill off the whole plant, they lose their root source basically. But if they just keep nibbling away at a certain rate, and they keep their food supply or resource in the soil. In other words, they're a parasite. Anyway, we'll see how we go. But I just thought it was an interesting development, interesting discovery. Spur of the moment, on the back of the cuff, sort of. And yeah, we would explain everything. Yeah. The gas man cometh. Here we're going to snuff out all these little Aesciorid midge larvae, starve them of oxygen. If you eat that sunshine, you're going to die. Anyway, yeah, I'm in a funny mood today, I suppose. Yeah. Anyway, over and out for now. I just thought you'd enjoy this sort of rambling update in the sun, because we didn't get any sun yesterday, basically. So plants are in, and we'll see how they go. But I think these ones have got potential now. I can see why they would work, and I can see why the White Sox Sarah guys would say, if you can grow they would say, if you can grow a tomato plant, you can grow CPs. Not saying what that encapsulates. That's basically, in a nutshell, to use the old from How to Make Friends Who Influence People. Lickety split. I mean, geez, he got away with that one. Can you imagine he got away with lickety split? I keep kicking myself when you read that in the book. He uses it so many times in the book. He uses it in a nutshell in the book quite a lot. But he got away with lickety split back then in his day. Can you imagine that, getting away with lickety split? Oh. I just could not believe it. And down under, you'd be kacking yourself if you read lickety split. I don't know if it's a legitimate word in America, but Jesus, it's so funny down under. You almost fall over laughing, kacking yourself on the ground. What? This is in a legitimate adult book, and you use this terminology. My God, in a very very moral Christian dedicated country, and he got away with lickety split. I just cannot believe it. Anyway, I thought I'd just put this up. And you can see how glorious sunshine that we have in the wet when it's not overcast or cloudy, which, this is a gorgeous time of the year. This is when the Australian bush, the Australian flora comes alive, goes from that green, grey-green drab look that Darwin talked about. He was definitely on the money when he mentioned that. Goes from that grey-green, comes alive. They flower prolifically in groupings, of course, to keep the fauna alive, because some of them are eating the nectar, some are go for the pollen and things like that. And it's like with our Grevillea buster that flowers twice a year. It's biannual. It's bat pollinated and also possum pollinated. So at one time of the year it's the possums use it, and then another time of the year the bats use it. So it's bat and possum pollinated. It's also the largest member of the Proteaceae, able to grow to a mature sized tree from a seed in about 7 years.